In Hindu mythology, there are three kinds of people that are considered celestial beings: the Apsaras, the Kinnars, and the Gandharvas. Why are they considered celestial beings? Because of their proficiency in music and dance, their extreme talent to the extent of divinity. The Apsaras are the ladies, the Kinnars, then considered to be half man, half bird, but now who we recognize as the transgender community perhaps, and the Gandharvas, the male counterpart of the Apsara. Over a period of time, we all know the Apsaras became the vamps, the negative character, the Kinnars ostracized, marginalized, and the Gandharvas, they became the maestros, didn't they? The male counterpart of the Apsara became the maestro, the Apsara became the vamp, pushed to the side. Why is that? The Apsaras were sidelined, the Kinnars were sidelined, the men became the maestros. How come?
The music, stories with Suchitra, the beats, the melodies. The music, stories with Suchitra.
So we talked about Indian mythology there. Now let's come to more contemporary history. In earlier times, women musicians were called tawaifs or courtesans, women of loose moral character, while male musicians got bestowed with the title of ustad, their private lives deemed irrelevant to the artistic legacy. Just like the Apsara and the Gandharva, genius female musicians like Umrao Jan and Gohar Jan remembered more for the beds they warmed rather than their musical prowess and accomplishments. Throughout history, music's most influential women have been forced into the shadows and watched their legacies shrink silently beneath the weight of patriarchal judgment. While men got hailed as geniuses, ustads and whatnot, women were reduced to their bodies, relationships and perceived moral failings. This pattern repeats across cultures and centuries. Why doesn't the media comment on Arijit Singh's clothes but are fixated on how Sunidhi Chauhan dresses? Why are they so obsessed with Lady Gaga's bustline and Taylor Swift's legs, denying acknowledgement of the fact that these talented women create and write their own music too? They are innovators, but that is rarely acknowledged, is it? Because to sexualize is to trivialize, to sexualize is to minimize, and that's how men have dominated the soundscape for centuries. Consider Jaddan Bai, India's first female music composer, film producer and director who revolutionized Indian cinema in the 1930s. Despite creating the blueprint for Bollywood's musical foundation through films like Talash-e-Haq, history dismisses her primarily as a tawaif from Lucknow. Even the recent web series Jubilee, where the heroine's character is allegedly based on Nargis and her romance with Raj Kapoor, portrays Nargis as the daughter of a tawaif. No mention of Jaddan Bai's music prowess, a pioneering role establishing Sangeet movie tone studio, nothing, none of that. Jaddan Bai remains just a footnote in history in spite of her many remarkable accomplishments. Yet male producers of the same era are celebrated as visionary founders of Indian cinema, their personal lives irrelevant to their artistic legacies. This erasure was not accidental. By labeling brilliant musicians like Jaddan Bai and Gohar Jan and Umrao Jan as courtesans first and artists second, the male-dominated establishment ensured their innovations could be freely appropriated while denying them legitimacy. The Western musical canon perpetuates the most damaging mythology of all, that compositional genius is inherently male. When Nannerl Mozart's sister, demonstrated talent equal to her brother Wolfgang Mozart, their father promptly ended Nannerl's music career. Yet another female virtuoso sacrificed at the altar of the male ego. Why? The music world didn't just prefer men, it actively worked to eliminate female competition. Now let's speak the uncomfortable truth, shall we? Many celebrated male geniuses built their careers by borrowing, stealing, or suppressing women's work. When Clara Schumann subordinated her composing career to promote husband Robert's work, we did not witness noble sacrifice. That's what they called it, but it wasn't. Her compositions reveal harmonic innovations Robert later incorporated into his own works with minimal acknowledgement. Convenient, huh? The modern recording industry's gender statistics aren't just disappointing, they're damning evidence of systematic exclusion. Less than 3% of music producers and 2% of audio engineers are women, not because women lack technical ability, but because, well, Female producers like Linda Perry, who shaped the sound of artists like Pink and Christina Aguilera, frequently find their contributions minimized or forgotten. The industry's persistent image of the producer as a technical genius and typically male continues to barricade women from positions of sonic authority. Sylvia Robinson didn't just produce rappers' delight, she invented an entire business model for hip-hop that male executives shamelessly copied while erasing her pivotal role in it. The industry's response to pioneering women hasn't been merely neglect, it's been aggressive appropriation followed by deliberate erasure. Now let's talk about male mentorship and its unspoken truths, shall we? The predatory nature of many mentorship relationships in music deserve unflinching examination. Countless female artists have faced an impossible choice: submit to sexual exploitation or forfeit career advancement. From the courtesans of Lucknow's kotas to today's recording studios, men have consistently used their gatekeeping power to extract sexual compliance while simultaneously devaluing women's artistic contributions because of that very sexuality they demanded in the first place. I know women who have gone to studios with knives in their purse because they were so afraid of being assaulted or being made to do something against their will. That is the truth. I've seen it myself. The same industry that hypersexualizes female artists punishes them for expressing sexuality on their own terms. It has to be the male way, you see. Whereas male artists who document countless sexual conquests are authentic storytellers, women who do the same are compromising their artistry. Cheap, piece of ass. This calculated double standard ensures women remain trapped in an impossible bind. Today's female artists face the same fundamental exploitation as Jaddan Bai and her contemporaries, or the friends I was telling you about. Stripped of artistic authority while their bodies remain subject to relentless public scrutiny. Addressing this injustice requires more than diversity initiatives or token recognition. It demands reparations for centuries of cultural theft. Jaddan Bai deserves posthumous recognition as the pioneering director and composer she was, not as a footnote in her daughter Nargis's biography. The Tawaifs of India deserve to be reframed as the cultural preservationists and artistic innovators they were, masters whose contributions equal or exceed those of the men who claimed their traditions. Until we acknowledge the systematic nature of this theft, we remain complicit in music's most enduring crime, the calculated erasure of female genius for male benefit. The question isn't whether women can make great music. The question is how much greater our musical heritage might be if we hadn't silenced half of humanity's creative potential for centuries. And how much longer we'll continue paying the cultural price for this loss. Addressing all these inequalities requires more than simply adding a few token women to music history textbooks. It demands a fundamental reconsideration of how we value musical contributions and define musical excellence, not by gender, by excellence. But true equality in music will come only when we acknowledge that what we consider musical genius has been shaped by centuries of gender bias. By recognizing the history of exclusion, we create space for a more inclusive musical future, one where talent, not gender, determines who gets to create and how they are remembered. Indeed, for most of history, Anonymous was a woman, wasn't she? But not anymore. Because today women aren't just fighting for a seat at music's table, they are rightfully demanding recognition that they built much of the table while men took credit for their craftsmanship. Now, India especially has indeed produced some fine female music producers over the last decade or so. Just in the last decade or so, but it's a start. In recent years, Sneha Khanwalkar has emerged as one of India's most innovative music producers and directors. Her unconventional approach to film scoring was showcased in films like Gangs of Wasseypur, where she traveled through small towns recording local musicians and then integrated these field recordings into her electronic productions. Wow! Khanwalkar broke into an overwhelmingly male-dominated Bollywood music industry and brought an entirely fresh sonic palette. Her production style combines raw, authentic regional sounds with sophisticated electronic production techniques, creating a signature sound that has influenced a new generation of Indian producers. Moving away from modern commercial music, we must acknowledge Hansa Mehta's pioneering work in the 1950s and 60s at All India Radio. While primarily known for her political contributions to India's independence movement, Mehta also played a crucial role in developing the first systematic approach to recording and archiving India's diverse musical traditions. The recording and production techniques she helped establish for capturing classical performances became the standard for documentary recordings of Indian classical music, creating an invaluable archive that preserved performances from legendary masters. Thank you, Hansa ji. Without you, we would never know. The story of women in music production is both inspiring and sobering. Tales of extraordinary innovation and creativity, often in the face of systemic barriers and historical erasure. As producer Susan Rogers has noted, you can't be what you can't see. If I don't know the work of these women, how can I be like them? How can I try and be like them? Which is why recognizing these pioneers is so crucial for changing the future landscape of music production. In India and across the global music industry, women producers have brought unique perspectives and approaches that have enriched our sonic landscape in immeasurable ways. By celebrating these contributions and supporting initiatives that expand access to production knowledge and opportunities, we can help ensure that the future of music production includes the full spectrum of creative voices, male and female. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. Do tune in next week, same day, same time, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next week.